Stitch Cuties, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Julie.
And together we're the mother-daughter duo of Stitches of Love. In this video tutorial, Julie is going to give you stitch tips and a tutorial on how to do the basic backstitch that you can use on any and all of your hand embroidery projects. So without further ado, Julie, will you show us what we're doing?
Of course, I'll be happy to tell you what to do.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, so one of the first things I want to show is, I get asked this a lot, how did you make that nice, neat little knot? So basically what I'm going to make is a quilter's knot. So I have my needle threaded.
Wait, I do need to get you into position for that. I apologize.
Sorry, that's okay. Oh, look, there's my finger.
Go down just a little.
Okay, my needle is threaded. I'm going to place my thread on my index finger. I hold the end of it with my thumb. I then put my needle perpendicular to the thread.
Perfect.
Is that obvious? Okay.
Yep.
And then I wrap it. In my case, I like 2 wraps. You can do how many wraps you want. The more wraps you do, the fatter your knot's going to be. And then you just hold it with your thumb and index finger and pull this through. And what you end up with is a nice little knot.
Beautiful little knot.
Yeah. And then I don't like my little tails, so I snip it off.
No tails allowed.
No tails. So
that's a perfect knot.
Nice little knot. Maybe you can see it better like that. There
yeah.
we go.
Perfect.
Yeah. So now
I'll put your stitchery back.
Okay. For a backstitch is used so many times in in embroidery.
There you go.
So I'm going to show you. We'll start right here. This is not where I would normally start. But I'm going to start here so that I can come down and show you how to handle this corner. A lot of people ask about corners. So I like to start, not like, okay, you would think that maybe you'd start right here at the toggle button, but you want to be able to come backwards and go forward again. So I start like a stitch away, stitch length away.
So you begin 1 stitch length away from where you actually want your stitch to be.
Can you see my needle is right here?
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to pull it up here. And I'm going to bring it down right there where it would have started, where logic tells you to start, right? Because we're going to be going back over where we were. So there's my needle. I also have my hand under here because I like to use my finger and hold my knot out of the way. Because if you put your needle, when you bring your needle back down, you're going to come back down into the very same hole that you started out in, and that's where your knot is. And if you want to try to push the needle through your knot, that's not easy.
If you hit your knot, what happens when you turn it over is the knot and your needle are miles away from your actual stitchery.
Or else you're just really forcing your needle through there. So there's that stitch. You want to try to keep your stitches about the same length. It's much more attractive, but that's difficult. And again, it doesn't really matter. Basically what we're doing is we are coloring our lines with thread. That one's even crooked. That bothers me, but I'm not going to take it out. Do you see how I got off to the side there?
You can kind of nudge it now.
A little bit, but it's not going to help. You could kind of nudge it a little and just kind of at the very tip, pierce it a little bit and maybe nudge it into place, or make it worse and have them both out there. But if you can see that I was not in the middle of the line. When you're doing with this sulky stick and stitch, your sticker,
your hand embroidery design sticker.
Yes. If you bring your needle through the center of your line, you will come out a lot easier every time. I think it's easier to maintain the integrity of the design because you're always going to hit it. You're not going to distort it on your circles. You're not going to have little points that stick out in weird places. So it's just nicer to try to go through the middle.
So you're coming back down through the same hole as before, and you're trying to take even stitches as best possible.
So here's the corner, which I get asked about the corners. I come up at the point of the corner and then come down on my back stitch. And then I'm going to come up over here. I'm going to take a little bit smaller stitch here at this corner, because what will happen is it's going to kind of if you could see underneath, my thread is going at an angle because
It's
it's
gonna be
coming from
traveling.
here over to here. So I just want it to be not obvious if it were to show through. And then you just continue on and you're going forward and back. See, I'm coming forward this way, but I'm going back when I go down. See? There you go.
And then when you get to curves or smaller pieces, do you take the length of your stitch a little bit smaller to try and accommodate those curves?
I do. I take it smaller because then you get a smoother line going around the edge rather than a larger jagged. It almost could look jagged, you know.
This is one of my favorite hand embroidery stitches because once you get in your groove, you can actually go quite
a lot
fast.
faster than I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to go slow to show you guys. So now.
Oh, I should move you up just a smidge, everybody. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
I was watching her stitch and not the screen.
Okay. Brittany likes to watch me stitch
This
for some
is
reason.
The most calming thing to me to watch Julie stitch.
Okay, so now I get asked about how do you knot it off. So we're going to pretend that all that's done, or I'm at the end of my thread. So I'm going to turn this over so you guys can see.
And we've used this same piece for other demos, so that's why you see some random stitching and knots.
Messes in here. Like, don't look at this stuff. So
it had a purpose before.
Yeah. And you can see, okay, well, let me just finish my knot.
Well, first you're perfect in the screen.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah.
So I like to hold the thread with one hand and then I just slip my needle underneath. I pull it taut. I then put my fingernail at the end of it so it stays taut. Which for some reason I'm having a hard time doing that. Can't get my finger in the right position. So now I have the nice little knot there.
And it's just one simple knot.
And then what I do is I thread my tail, before I snip it, I thread my little tail underneath a couple stitches just so that I can kind of secure my tail, and then I can snip it really close to the edge. Like that.
Beautiful. So
But
your
you can see
line
that's what I did up
perfect.
here. I was demonstrating something else here. So let me get this out of the way. And actually I'll cut this thread here. So on this bit up here.
Oh, let me come down. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. On this shoulder up here, I had started up here. You can see there's my knot, one stitch here, and then I went back and proceeded forward. When I got to the end, there's actually a little knot right there. And then you just weave it underneath.
And you trimmed your thread, it looks like right about there.
Yeah, and actually when I was doing this, I cut my knot.
Oops. Well, don't cut your knots.
Don't do that.
That only happens when you're filming.
Well, it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't traveled it down here, and then I wanted to get this out of the way so they wouldn't have to see that. So I could prove my point, but now I see that I cut my knot, so really I could do that.
Well, now it's not knotted.
Now
But
it's
don't
not
do
knotted.
that.
Don't do that. Do more like
Do like
this.
you did in the real tutorial just now.
Yeah. And then, you'll have it secure and less lumpy bumpies.
Be a little more cautious with your scissors and don't cut your design. You're just going at it.
I can tell you, I've never cut.
That scared me. Did that scare y'all?
Shouldn't say that, never. But I haven't cut my design before. And I haven't cut my knots in a bad way either. But
again, it only happens when you're filming.
Yeah. So anyway, from the front, it looks nice and neat. And then as, when I'm finished, I'll probably put SF 101 on the back of my piece because these pieces will be going into a quilt. And so by using SF 101, it kind of secures your whole background area. And you could trim up your little knots first so that anything that might show through won't be sticking out in different weird places. And it'll look nice and neat from the front of your piece.
So you have this video tutorial to help, and then also we recommend the hand embroidery pocket guide, and right within that is your basic back stitch right on the very first stitch page right at the top. I like to keep this in a project bag because like on a back stitch you're probably going to remember, or if you haven't done it in a while you might need a refresher, but when you get into some of the more like quote unquote advanced stitches, I'll call it that, you might want a little refresher. So in this video series, we really hope that you enjoyed this video. We also have 2 videos previous to this one where we talk about the basics of hand embroidery, notions, threads, needles, etc. and also a video all about how a pre-printed hand embroidery design sticker works, which is really helpful, especially if you're using doing one of our hand embroidery clubs. Everything's pre-printed. And then we
That
also
way you don't have to trace.
exactly
Quick and easy.
So lovely. And in total, there are 11 videos with stitch tips specifically. This is the first in that series. So we hope that you will subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on anything. And then don't forget to share your pictures of everything you're stitching with these stitch tips.
And as always,
Happy stitching.